welcome into the show. This is Philadelphia Eagles Now by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr., and as always, no matter where you are, how you're tuned in, I appreciate you for making today's show a part of your day. And on the rundown, want to have a conversation about Jaylen Carter going into his sophomore campaign. He was very impressive as a rookie, wore down a little bit last year toward the end of the year, but I also want to pose this question as part of this conversation. Can the Eagles defensive tackle win NFL Defensive Player of the Year? We're going to take a look at some in-depth numbers and, of course, expand on that. But first, if you think that Jaylen Carter can make a big leap in 2024, then I want you to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. If you don't and you're not a believer in the player, that's okay, but I want you to comment why and explain your reasoning. So I'm high on Jaylen Carter going into this upcoming campaign because of what I saw last year. And I want to start by taking a look at the just standard statistical numbers for Jaylen Carter after being selected 9th overall in the 2023 NFL Draft out of Georgia. Of course, there were some character concerns back then. And then we saw during his rookie campaign that the kid loves football, and he has the potential to be a really dominant player in the National Football League. In 16 games played a year ago, he racked up 20 solo tackles, 6 sacks as a rookie. As a defensive tackle is very impressive. Pretty active in the backfield with 8 TFLs. He also logged 9 quarterback hits and 2 forced fumbles. He can be a more disruptive player, of course, going into his sophomore season because last year we certainly saw that in bits and moments. And for me, when you think about what 98 did a year ago, certainly passed the eye test. And we're about to look at some of the Pro Football Focus numbers and Sports Info Solution numbers. And when you just talk about the eye test here with Jaylen Carter, you saw the speed and the physicality combination. For a man that big to have that explosive, fast get-off at the line of scrimmage once the ball is snapped, to be able to take on double teams and beat some of those double teams, but then to add the athleticism and the speed to that, it's really impressive. And he also had some pass rush moves and has pass rush moves to his arsenal. He really did cause havoc, and I thought it was pretty telling that other teams across the NFL had to game plan for Jaylen Carter because going into a matchup against the Philadelphia Eagles, on purpose, they would double team him because they didn't want to allow him from the interior to muddy up the pocket, get in the sight line of that quarterback to really take over the game. So he certainly looked the part in that regard. So that's the eye test and the standard statistic element of this conversation. Next, we can go a little bit more in depth on Jaylen Carter and look at some of the Pro Football Focus numbers to see how we graded individually, and then a little bit later, we'll take a look at how he graded among defensive tackles in the NFL. Overall Pro Football Focus grade, ladies and gentlemen, of 89 flat. That is truly elite, especially for a first-year player. I think that he can get better against the run, but he was right around league average in year one at 68.4, an excellent pass rush grade, so the grades certainly check out there at 85.9. He tallied 49 pressures, 38 hurries, 6 sacks, and this came on him only playing 48% of the snaps. By comparison, Fletcher Cox, who retired this offseason, led the Eagles defensive tackles in snap count at 59%. So if Jaylen Carter can get up to that 59, 60, 65% number, you have to imagine that the numbers naturally can increase, especially playing in a more legitimate scheme than the one last year because Vic Fangio is a much better defensive coordinator than Sean Desai. That goes without saying. As for where Jaylen Carter can improve, where he can get better, he has talked about improving his conditioning. I think that he can get better at improving his stamina so that he doesn't wear down late in the year like he did last year. And look, it's a lot. You go from playing college football, you play in some bowl games. For Jaylen Carter, you win a national championship. And then right from there, in January, you start getting ready for the NFL Combine. Right after the NFL Combine, you're taking your pre-draft visits, you have the draft, and then you have rookie minicamp, OTAs, mandatory minicamp, a little bit of a break. Then you're back at it for training camp, preseason, and the regular season, that's a grind. So your body hasn't been through that grind, and there's a little bit of an acclimation period there. So I think that with the stamina, the conditioning, he can improve in that regard, the consistency of his game, and stopping the run. Again, around league average with those run defense grades, but given the strength, given the ability, I think that he can continue to really get better in that area of his game. I also liked what he said this offseason about taking accountability and working on his weaknesses. He said this a few months ago. It's been a lot of conditioning as far as what he's working on this offseason. I'd like to be more conditioned than working on technique because we have all year for technique stuff. We work on technique every day in practice with our hands, working on pass rushes and stuff like that. But you really don't work on conditioning a lot. But I did more conditioning than I did hand movement and some of the stuff like that. More on Jaylen Carter coming up, including some fascinating statistical numbers on him. But first, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Subscribe to us here on Philadelphia Eagles Now for daily shows on the Birds. We are approaching 77,000 subscribers, and my goal for this football season is to get that plaque from YouTube and surpass 100K. I think we can do that. Help me out, and you also get Eagles shows every single day. So we've gone through some standard numbers here. We've looked at some pro football numbers. Now let's go even more in depth per Sports Info Solutions. And let's first take a look at Jaylen Carter's pass rush stats. Pass rush snaps to begin things. 382. That ranked 26th among defensive tackles. He did have 6 sacks, as we noted earlier. That was 13th among defensive tackles. Pretty good as a rookie right there. His sack rate, 1.7%, 17th at the position. His pressures, 15th with 39 total. His pressure rate, 12th in the NFL at 11. And then his pass rush rate, 100%. That was first among players at his position. So the theme here, imagine what Jaylen Carter can do with more snaps, with a larger workload and improved stamina. He could be a really dominant player, and he could be in the running for Defensive Player of the Year. We still have to get to that component of this conversation. Run defense stats for Jaylen Carter. 152. That was 84th. TFLs, 11. 19th. Average tackle depth, 1.3 yards. That was 16th. And then his Pro Football Focus rankings, once again, we took a look at these numbers a little bit earlier, right? But this is where he ranked at his position. Defensive grade, 87.4, 5th. Run defense grade, still 12th. So that's why that number of 69.4, very nice, isn't all too bad at 12th. And then his pass rush, 84.6, that was 8th at his position. So let's circle back to that question that I started the show off with. Can Eagles defensive tackle Jaylen Carter win NFL Defensive Player of the Year? He is currently 16th in odds here. And once again, it's the same collection of defensive players who are featured on this list. Micah Parsons has the best odds to win Defensive Player of the Year at plus 550. TJ Watt right there with them at plus 550. Coming up next is Nick Bosa at 7-1 odds. Max Crosby at 7-1 as well. And then Myles Garrett at 8-1. So that's the top 5 right there. And then Jaylen Carter comes in at 16th at plus 5,000. So to simplify that, let's say you were to put down $1 on Jaylen Carter right now to win NFL Defensive Player of the Year. That is a $50 payout. So if you put $10 down, you could win a boatload of cash if Jaylen Carter in his second year is able to play really well under Vic Fangio, ball out, win Defensive Player of the Year, which of course could be difficult at that defensive tackle spot and considering the players he's going up against, but I'm willing to take that risk. I'm willing to take that bet because the value there, very, very good. We saw the glimpses of dominance, the glimpses of power, the speed. He put up some really good numbers, and there's a chance that Jaylen Carter could continue that ascent. Who will win NFL Defensive Player of the Year. What say you? Drop me a name down below in the comment section right now and predict it for me. Also, make sure you give me a follow on X and Instagram at Chase_Senior. It's the same handle on both platforms here. Approaching 13,000 followers on X, surpassed 30,000 followers on IG. I put out short form content on those pages, so give me a follow, say what's up, and don't be a stranger.